Hey, I'm Smokey Mountain Pro Josh Bertrand, and today we're going to talk about fishing in the wind. You end up on the water on windy days pretty often. And you know, it can be a challenging deal, but if you use the wind as your friend, if you use it to help you, sometimes you can have your best days on the water when it's breezy. So if wind does one thing more than anything else, it really positions the fish. And that's what I like. I like when the fish are in predictable places where you can kind of call your shots. And when it's flat calm, there's no current, right, on most lakes. And no current means the fish can kind of go anywhere they want. When you've got wind, that creates current, and that current is going to position the bait fish and also the bass into places where they're pretty predictable and pretty easy to catch. And as you can see, we're on a pretty big lake right here, and we are on the wind-blown side. And that's the biggest advice I can give anybody. You know, the wind-blown side, if you can be where the wind is blowing to, rather where the wind is blowing from, it's really simple, right? Like, it's a lot easier to sit there and wait for it rather than have to chase it down. And if you're a bass, waiting for bait fish or waiting for food, they're going to be positioned where the food is coming to them, not where the food is being taken away from them. So always the windier side of the lake, if it's not too rough, is going to be the place to start. As far as techniques go, when you're fishing out in this type of stuff, a lot of times I'll reach for baits that are a little bit easier to cover water with, right? The fish are sometimes a little bit more active when it's windy like this, so a jerk bait like I'm throwing here, spinner bait, crankbait, any type of what we would call a reaction bait is going to be the first thing I grab on a windy day. Now, there's different types of winds, right? You've got wind fronts, you know, a wind coming from the south or the west, a nice warm windy day. That's when the fish are going to be really aggressive. That's when they're going to love these reaction baits. There are bad fronts in fishing, right? North fronts, when they bring in cold weather, and it doesn't matter what you're fishing for, where you're fishing in the country, a north front is a lot of times tough for the fishing, but still you maybe have to be out there. That's when you're going to need to fish a little bit slower. You might not be able to trade your drop shot for a jerkbait in that situation. You might have to throw your drop shot, throw your jig, some type of bottom bait, and in that case you're just going to have to make adjustments, right? The fish on days like that aren't active, but you're fishing in this wind. Maybe go to a little bit heavier weight. If you're drop shotting, you use a quarter instead of a 3/16. And then with your presentation, right? Like a lot of times when it's calm, I'll drop shot with my rod up like this. And you can see on a windy day like that, it's putting a huge bow in the line. You're not gonna be able to feel the fish, feel the bites. I'll drop shot with my rod just above the water surface like that. Keep that bow out of the line. Make sure that you're feeling the bait come across the bottom and you're feeling the bites when you get them. Next time you're trying to figure out whether or not you're gonna go on the water because it's windy, give it a shot. If it's breezy, there's fish to be caught, and now you got the tools to do it.